Welcome back to what Arty Noobs with General Disturbance. This is an M44, the Tier 6 American SPG. This one's located on the southwest spawn of Glacier, and it's under the command of Zin1983. Now, he's one of the players who has this unfortunate habit of pulling back after he shoots. And it kind of ruins the replay, ruins the video if you do that, because you can't actually see the enemy getting hit. I mean, if you find your tank gun and then pulled away or immediately looked away after you shoot it, you wouldn't know if you'd hit the target. You'd have absolutely no idea, except of course when the system says, oh, you've got some damage on the enemy. But if you fired at them and the round hit the ground, you wouldn't know at all if you'd hit the target. And consequently, yeah, you wouldn't know if you were being trolled or if you were hitting something else. You wouldn't have a clue. And completely ruins the game. So this is why we've said to players, if you do pull away after you shoot, then we won't do your replays. Well, he's stayed for this one. First shot is a bit of a snapshot on that T-34, didn't get anywhere near it, but he's lost sight of those guys. But they are headed for the ramp for the aircraft carrier. Got a T-67 up there already and a T-34 shielded. He fires a blind shot in. Oh, he got him! There was an enemy tank there, and I think it was the T-34, because the Chinook didn't have any damage, and the T-34 is showing damage and just showed some stun. So his blind shot worked. He fires another one in, and that one's much better. 186, and Zin is actually staying for the pictures, so we are getting a proper replay. We can see what's going on. Okay, he's got a Panther Mark 4H over there. Nicely done. And a hit! Even though he pulled back, we could see in the distance that the shell did hit the target. And there he goes. So he doesn't need to fire another one. His reload time should be around about 16 to 17 seconds. He fires one in there. Again, he's getting that habit of pulling back. I know a lot of players do it, but it's far fewer than you'd actually believe. It's mostly out of a habit, I suppose, that people pull back. I don't know if it's psychological or, you know, that they don't like to see damage done to other tanks and therefore they pull away to avoid the sight of seeing something hurt. No, I don't. I think it's more psychological than anything. It's a reflex that they just pull away after firing, and they don't know why they do it, but it's certainly not the norm. Most people do stay to see what happens. And he killed the T-34 and did 103 hit points, or 139 hit points. No, it was 103 to the budgie. Oh, a Chinook went down, and he just was killed by the M41 HMC. Now, the firing position he's occupied here is okay in some respects, in that it's quite a wide area that you can fire from. The only problem is really you can't fire at most of the perimeter road, and he's just got that shot on the Valiant, taken some hit points off him. There's some places on the perimeter road you can't hit from there, which you can hit from a place further back or around the corner. That's a nice one, 175 from direct hit, and it looks like he stunned the other Valiant at the same time. It's going to go for another one. Keep pumping those shells in, especially when the enemy tanks are close together. Oh, it looks like the M41 got one in there as well, and he did pull back, but he resisted the urge to pull back even further. I mean, there has been times when he's pulled back so far, you can't see what's going on when the shell arrives. Okay, rounds out, and that one didn't. It hit the wreck, not the Valiant, but it stunned the Valiant we're looking at and tried to hit. Okay, he's almost ready to go again. Rounds out straight away. No, that one didn't. That went long, very long, and again he pulled back, and we missed the fact that it was a long shot. We could see the impact crater though was a bit further away. Now, at the moment, we're 3 tanks up on the enemy. We've got a Hellcat. He's dialing in. We mark that spot on the ground. He pulls back again. Yeah, so he's getting back into his old habits of pulling back after shooting. Slap his wrist and say, nope, don't do that. bad boy. He's lost sight of anything there. Again, pulls back. You see, it's important not to pull back, because if he did get a blind hit, just as he did with his first shot on the T-34, we wouldn't see that it was a blind hit because we've missed the explosion. You see, if it's a blind hit, there'll be no explosion. If it isn't a hit, we'll see the explosion and we know he missed him. Well, the Valiant just got hit by the M41 and that shell went long. Again, you can see the impact crater beyond the Valiant. And sometimes I worry that if he shoots, he might actually be affecting the fall of the shot on the aiming point by pulling back as he shoots and thereby affecting the aim. So again, it's another reason not to pull back the way he's doing, because it could actually affect your game detrimentally. But he's now aiming for that rock and again pulls back. You've got to resist the urge to do it. Otherwise, we can't do your replays. You know that. Okay, aiming for the Hellcat, waiting for the reload to go in, and rounds out. He pulls back again, and this time he did kill the target, and we could just see it in the distance as the wreck appeared. There was no explosion, so we know he hit the target, but yep, he did get it. T-67 again pulls back. We won't see, oh, we see an explosion, but he was well away from the T-67. Okay, fires. Nope, that's a miss. You see, I'm not the only one who's actually mentioned this. Klaus Kellerman mentioned it in one of his videos. He wondered why people were pulling back after they shoot. In fact, I think a lot of the content creators will be extremely puzzled as to why somebody fires and then doesn't bother to watch what happens to the shell. It just defies belief that somebody would do that, because they're not getting the full information. And as a consequence, they may not win simply because they don't know what's happened to that last shell. Yes, the system does poke up information sometimes. When you get a blind kill, it will say destroyed because the wreck will appear. But if you hit a target and you didn't see the target was hit because there was no explosion, you may not get that information because the system sometimes denies blind hit information to you. That's why at the end of some battles, you think you've got 1,000 hit points of damage, but it actually turns out you got 2,000 hit points of damage because you did hit more enemies than the system would tell you that you hit. But of course, you never know that if you weren't watching. And he fired and pulled away straight away. Now, I do understand if some person actually has to avoid a counter battery, that he has to relocate simply because the enemy Arty is trying to kill him. But of course you can still relocate by pressing your W key and moving forward whilst you're watching what happens to the fall of the shot. Doesn't necessarily mean that you have to avoid it. And he's got another kill, and this time round we did see it. He got the M10. Now I'm not sure I agree with what he's doing here. He's actually going on the perimeter road. You'd be much better off actually cutting across the ice near the hot pools and going round. You see all these rocks on the way actually can cause problems for you, blocking your line of fire. Some of the bigger rocks, that is. They do offer a certain amount of protection, but they also block fields of fire. Now luckily he's actually able to aim up over some of the bigger ones. He's aiming in that row of trees, the tree line there, guessing that the enemy's there, but of course again he fires, he doesn't look, and therefore he doesn't know if he hit something. He might have hit an Arty and not known it. And I keep saying to players, if you keep looking away, we just won't do your replays. And I'm afraid he has acknowledged this, but he just doesn't seem to be doing much to correct it. Yes, he did get his first few shots by looking at the target, but he's more and more of them, he's increasingly looking away after he shoots. Fires, pulls back, there's an explosion. Well, it's 3 against 2 at this moment. And we know that T67 went into that tree line, but we don't know where in the tree line he is. And that presents a bit of a problem, because if we're going to cap and win this game, we're going to have to try and force the enemy T67 out of his hole. And, well, Zin's only got 10 rounds left. And we haven't seen many shells from the M41 HMC in the past few minutes, and I suspect that might be because he's running low on ammo. There's the enemy M44. He's popped out. And Zin gets an accurate shot on him. And he's taken out and just killed by our SU-100. But there's still that T-67. And that could be a big problem for us because, of course, he is very stealthy. T-67s are very small tank destroyers. They're very sneaky tank destroyers as well. And he might be able to get himself into a position where he can take out somebody who's capping without us knowing exactly where he is. Somewhere in the tree line. He fires another round in. He's only got 7 now. And there's the T-67. Came up on top of the hill. He's a bit silly because you shouldn't have done that. He's given away his position. And Zin's trying to line up a shot on him. Work out where he's going. Fires a round in. Pulls back. And again, we don't get to see what happened, but I think that shell landed some distance away from the T-67 because he stopped just before the shell reached its destination. I'd hold on to your 6 shells at the moment because let the SU-100 find him and then shoot. Dial in on that area, wait for him to spot the target and then shoot. It looks like T-67's pulled a bit further yet over in those trees. Has he found him yet? No, he's pulled away. He's gone. Okay, so now he needs to be over in that cap area because they're running short on time. 2 minutes 50 seconds left on the clock. And remember, it takes 1 minute 40 seconds to cap out for one vehicle. So if the SU-100 is going to stay at the edge and guard the cap from the T-67 approaching, Zin needs to get into that cap within the next minute or next 50 seconds. Otherwise, he's going to be out there. They're going to lose the game. Now, I suppose the SU-100 could actually come back and help him cap to complete it. And the M41 could have driven all the way over, but he didn't. And that's a problem that some Arty players have. They don't recognise or look at their minimap enough and their clock to know how close they are. And he was spotted there. 6 cents went off just as he went around that corner, which suggests to me that the T-67 is fairly close to him right now. He was spotted through that gap just as he went around the corner. That gap there. So I think the T-67... Oh, and we've lost the SU-100. The T-67 got him, so it's now 1 tank destroyer versus 2 Arty. Now, I'm sure the T-67 knows that Zin is here. And yes, he's behind him. And unfortunately, it looks like he's going to get the drop on Zin. But Zin's got a 155mm howitzer. And he can splash the guy to death. And he does just that. Even though it takes some damage himself, he wins the game with a shotgun right at the end. Now, thank goodness he didn't look away for that one. Oh dear, I'm taking the mick there now. Okay, let's have a look at the end of battle stats. That one was an ace tanker for Zin 1983 in the M44. He managed to get a fighter badge for getting at least 4 kills. He got 4 exactly, a bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits, got 16, and he got a high caliber for dealing the most damage in the game, and his win rate from that one was 6,132. When it came to kills, yes, you could take the team score rather. He managed to get 2,342 hit points of damage. The next high scorer being that T-67 with 1,958. And after that, that Wolverine with 1,498 on the enemy team. In fact, there was only 4 players who managed to get over 1,000 hit points of damage. The Budgie was the other one. When it came to kills, he was the second highest because the T67 got 5 kills when he took out the SU-100. 4 kills went to Zin and 3 kills went to the Type 58 and the Wolverine on the enemy team. And when it came to base XP, yes, Zin got that one. So 1,108 base, the only player over 1,000. And the next high score after that was the Valiant with 688 and 645 to the Type 58. He fired 31 rounds in that game, got 5 direct hits, 1 penetration, 16 splash, damage of 2,342 hit points, of which 2,066 were at more than 300 meters, the difference being the shot that he actually fired at fairly close range on the T67. 9 enemy vehicles damaged, 4 killed, and 778 hit points of stun assist of 10 stuns. On a premium count, he earned 49,323 credits, and after repair and ammunition resupply took away 32,800 credits. He received 1,662 XP. There was no multipliers on this occasion, so that's all the experience points he took away, but oh yes, that was a very close one. I thought he was going to take a hit from that the T67 as he came round the corner, and I was certain that that's the direction the guy was going to come from, because he probably thought, quite rightly, that Zim was looking towards the cap area, and all he had to do was zoom around the outside, come up the ramp, and shoot him in the ass. But he did get detected, proximity detected, as he got close, and that gave Zim the opportunity to turn round, and if he hadn't turned round as quickly as he did, he might have ended up being toast, because I think that T67 would have fired into him, then driven alongside him, and then finished him off. So nice that he actually managed to get it. And yes, a near miss or a near splash like that with the 155mm howitzer can be fatal to many tanks, including the M44 itself, if it has to fire that close. So well done, Zin. I would say though, please do practice about keep watching the shell. Don't pull away. I know it's a very strong habit with you, and I know you're not the only one. But if you do pull back, as I keep saying to everyone, it ruins the video. You can't see what's actually happening to the shell, and as a consequence, we would have to say, okay, well, we're not going to handle those replays. So, you know, please don't make the mistake of keep pulling back. Please stay with the shell and let us see what happens. Thanks for watching.